Okay, so now knowing that we can factor some expressions using rational numbers, irrational numbers, and complex numbers, then let's factor the following expressions here. X to the fourth minus 49 is a difference of two squares because x to the fourth is a perfect square and 49 is also a perfect square. Now, we are asked here to factor using only rational numbers. So I know that if I factor this, I have one sum and one difference. So the factors look exactly the same except for the sign in between. One is a sum and the other is a difference. So the first factor should be x squared plus square root of 49 is 7. And the other factor should be x squared minus 7. We may interchange the plus and the minus sign. And because we want to use only rational numbers, then we stop here. We're done factoring x to the fourth minus 49. Now, let's go down here. Again, x to the fourth minus 49 is a difference of two squares. Now we want to use real numbers in factoring this expression. Real numbers include rationals and irrationals. So this means that we can use square roots of non-perfect squares. So when we factor, we're going to start off with x squared plus 7 and x squared minus 7. So that's the same thing as what we have here on the rational factors. But since we can use irrational numbers, then we can still factor x squared minus 7. But x squared plus 7 cannot be factored anymore. We don't factor sum of two squares using rational numbers. We cannot do that. So we'll just keep it x squared plus 7. But x squared minus 7 can be factored again as a sum and a difference of x plus square root of 7, and here x minus square root of 7. Now, if you want to find out if our factors are correct, we can just multiply all of these binomials and see if we're going to have the result x to the fourth minus 49. Okay, so we notice here that there are three factors. One is a sum of two numbers, another a sum, and a difference. All right, so now let's go to the next one. We're still factoring x to the fourth minus 49, but we can use complex numbers, meaning we can use rational numbers, we can use irrational numbers, and we can use imaginary numbers. So let's start factoring. Let me put the answer here. Okay, first we recognize that this is a difference of two squares, so we can factor as x squared plus 7 times x squared minus 7. Now, the x squared plus 7, we can still factor this using imaginary numbers because that's a sum. We can think of it as a sum of squares. And the x squared minus 7, we can think of it as a difference of squares. All right, so for the sum of squares, the factors would be x minus I square root of 7 and x plus I square root of 7. For the x squared minus 7, the factors are x plus square root of 7 times x minus square root of 7. And then we're done factoring. So we notice that there are 4 factors. 2 of them are imaginary, and 2 are using irrational numbers. So they're all part of the set of complex numbers. So notice that in these 3 problems, we are factoring the same binomial, the same difference of 2 squares, but the numbers are different. So if we are asked to use only rational numbers, we stop here. This is it. But if we are asked to use real numbers, then we can include irrationals. These are irrationals. And if we are asked to factor using complex numbers, then we can include imaginary numbers, irrational numbers, and rational numbers.